Hi, my name is Ashley Hampton. I'm originally from Sacramento, California, and I moved to Stockton when I was 14 years old. My mom married a Stocktonian, and there began my loving and also sometimes very hating relationship with our city. I went to Bear Creek High School, I went to Franklin High School, and then I graduated from East Union in Manteca. I went back and forth too a lot. My experience with Stockton breeds beast. You can't not have resiliency coming out of the city. You cannot fail if you do your work coming out of this city. There's absolutely nothing to do here. Like nothing. There's no skating rings anymore. There's very little. You have to really create and cultivate. I'm a foodie, so I like to eat out. So, you could do those. We have good restaurants here. But when it comes to actually being able to do things, I believe that it's intentionally set like that spiritually for everyone to do their inner workings. Because once you do your inner workings and you begin to heal, ideas begin to spark. Creativity comes in. Youth start being entrepreneurs and cultivating wealth for themselves in positive directions when you're teaching them by living example of what it means to do your work. And yes, it's so easy for me to blame the judicial system. It's so easy for me to blame police officers because we have them. I've seen them. I've run in contact with. I sat with COs in the jail that I was like, let me catch y'all out of uniform on these streets because the way y'all talk, boink, you make somebody want to hurt you. I've said in those, and it's very easy for me to point those fingers and say that, but I'm really big on also doing my own independent self-evaluating work of self-healing and self-love so that those aren't my experiences anymore. A lot of times we don't want to take responsibility for our outer experiences because we're feeling they're happening to us. When in actuality, if you really were doing your inner work, would that even be a part of your frequency? There are so many laws that govern this universe that we don't pay much attention to because we've been conditioned out of them. But when you really start to learn them, know them, and own them, all of this chaos then just becomes a reflection of what's going on internally, and you can't ignore it anymore. Stockton taught me not to ignore my issues. Stockton taught me not to finger point so much on the injustices that are happening outside of myself, correcting and then having the clarity to be able to proceed. And even now, it's hard for me to be involved with the DA. And she's progressive. And I say that with quotes because depending on who you talk to, some people will say she's progressive and some will say she's not. But even in being able to work with her, I still feel my emotional pull to the finger pointing and the blame and wanting to hold them accountable. So I tend to file back and watch and say, we can do things here to change. We can definitely put black hair products in our jail that actually work and don't break our hair off. We can have real programming that addresses the trauma, because when I sat in jail for 37 days, every single one of those 64 women that I came in contact with had a childhood trauma they were attached to. And being in the jail just continued to perpetuate that same level of trauma. From waking up at 4 a.m. to being woke up by being yelled, called dirty females, screamed at with negative attitudes at 4 a.m, forced to eat breakfast at 4 a.m, not having a real logical schedule that can actually create a routine of program and change. There's so many things that I learned when it came to being in that environment of trauma and us not really dealing with it and even putting Band-Aids over it. So when it comes to Stockton, I think Stockton has the most potential. I think it has the most promise. I think that Stockton is the grounds of success for so much. It's just our seeds are buried really, really deep. And so getting the water to that deep, rich soil beyond the cemented platform is going to take some work. But it's going to take work by the individuals who run the system and honestly evaluating themselves. White folks, evaluate yourselves, recognize that you are biased, recognize that when you're working into a system that even targets the way that this county targets Black people, and it's in the data of which our DA has released and has given access to at any point in time, the data, requesting the data. She's the first DA to offer that. We can do a lot of work understanding not just the data that's being collected, but what we can do internally to really change the frequency of our environments, our internal environments, that changes our outward circumstances. It takes patience, it takes consistency, it takes discipline, it takes diligence, it takes correcting yourself when you're wrong, getting out of your ego when you're right. It is an evolution process that I really believe Stockton is really on the cusp of, regardless of what's happening, even politically. I encourage people to really love more, to really love more, and to love without fear. That has been the hardest for me personally, and being completely transparent, is that I'm a lover and everyone knows, oh my God, she loves everybody. Yes, but there's always a vibration of fear present because you can hurt me. And loving a city, loving a people, loving your family, loving us as Black folks, understanding that us having real, authentic love as a community is the only way that we're gonna have authentic success and wealth, because that love establishes trust. When you get that concept, you kind of let your fear take a back seat. You kind of let your fear be your fuel into loving a little bit more, because we are in the season of that. Now, I'm not saying we're not demanding changes. A lot of times people hear love and mean that, we on some sucker stuff, like we're just gonna accept anything. Not at all, that's not love. Love has a measurable impact with natural consequences. And those natural consequences affect you more than anything you can imagine. They're the most powerful, most potent, most visceral experience you will have to help create that change. So if our focus for this Family Day, Black Family Day, could be anything, it's love. And not the hogwash, emotional feeling love, but the authentic, grounded, rooted, supported, peaceful, joyful, transparent, honest, and full of integrity love. The love that holds each other accountable in love. The love that elevates us to another frequency, that determines who comes in. The one that says, look, Mr. Councilman, Mr. Mayor, Mrs. Mayor, whoever you are, you're not supplying or pouring back into our community. That's not love. Therefore, you're not qualified. Stop using big languages and bureaucracy to get things done. It's not hard to create change in a community. Restore the Black community, put the wealth back in. Stockton owes it to the Black community to put wealth back into our communities the right way, not this, program here. You get your money and it deciphers, and by the time the actual money that goes into the hands of the people is there, it's nothing. We're talking about authentic pouring into the riches. I think that's spiritual first. So it's denouncing lies and holding supposed spiritual leaders accountable. We're in a really, really beautiful space right now, where people either get this language or they don't. But those who get it, you've got the responsibility, and natural consequences come as reversed. I love Stockton. I don't like it. I love Stockton because what it's done. I don't like it because of how it's moved. But what I do see happening is a shift in people and a level of freedom that is being birthed. So I will continue to support this city as much as I can until I get up out of here, because I'm never in a place for too long. But I wish that people will understand just the power of the city. And I place a lot of power in the Black man. So in honor, I'll go there, in honor of discussing and celebrating Black men. When I first was interviewed for this, I was asked, do you feel protected by Black men? And I 100% do. I've been through things that would make me say otherwise, from childhood to even just as, recently as 3 years ago. But I do. I love Black men. I think Black men are amazing. I think that When I look at a structure of a Black man, I just think, my God, look at the power, look at the glory, look at the God, look at the magnificence. I get chills when I think of the Black man, and not just because I gave birth to one, but because I genuinely love them. And even Black men that I've dated and it hasn't worked out, it's still like this unconditional love. And I do my best to have the highest level of understanding of their struggle. And as my best friend tells me, you're harder on women than you are on men. I am, because I believe we carry the responsibility in loving because we gave birth. We gave birth to them. So there's a responsibility in maintaining the Black family through the Black woman's eyes. And if we can't love unconditionally, we definitely can't expect for them to. And we can love unconditionally and then raise the standard of how they're supposed to be, which is, I think, the happy medium between the two. It's, I'll love you, and because I love you, I get to hold the standard of how you're to behave in my presence. And that behavior is based off of my love. The moment that love switches and changes, at that point, you'll feel the change within yourself because there's a disconnect. Love creates a bond. And you don't have to know someone to love them. You can see a spirit and love that spirit. You don't have to like their attitude. You don't even have to be around them. But that baseline, borderline, bottom line love is there. And it doesn't shift nor change no matter what, because it's the same love that keeps your heart pumping. Your heart pumps and doesn't tell you something is right or wrong, but you're still pumping. Your brain could be dead. Where your thoughts live could be dead. Your heart's still pumping. That's still love. There's no right or wrong in that. So you can still pump the heart of love into somebody and not necessarily have these extreme expectations, but more of standard increases and principles and values as a result of that manifestation of love, which I can go on and on for that. So when it comes to the Black man, do your work, Black man. This is your time, especially if you're in Stockton, to do your work. Make your demands. Make your demands on how you want to live your life. Make your demands on the company that you keep. Make your demands on the wealth that you're building. Make your demands on the programs that you're willing to accept into your community. Make your demands on far as what you're going to read and what you're going to listen to. Make your demands, Black man. Because as you make your demands, these are the demands that not only are you making for the world outside of you, but what you're going to do in you. And when we have a spirit of warriors that we have in this city, the ones who are willing to die for the streets that they live on, the ones that are willing to carry guns for protection, those are the warriors who would be the frontliners when battling white supremacy, when battling racism, when battling a judicial system, when battling a government that is not for you but is hurting you. When you're going to get on the front lines of those as a warrior spirit that you are, you must simultaneously do your work so that creativity can cultivate desired outcomes. But if you don't make your demands, if you don't have your vision, as women, who are we to follow? As women, who are we to bring our Black family together? Where's the vision of that? We can't do it all. My stepmother used to say, your dad is the head, I am the neck. And without the neck, the head can't move. Black men, you are the head. Where is your head? Is your crown tilted? What are you doing differently? What are you doing within yourself that's going to help change the dynamic of our families? We need you. Our babies need you. Our little girls need you. Our young men need you. Our elders need you. You are the substance. You are the whole. You are the complete. You are everything. Act like it. Do your work. I would not have made it these last 5 years without a lot of people. But when we're talking about celebrating the Black man, there are Black men, there are several Black men in particular that have been key in that for me. One being Charles Stewart, who was my spiritual advisor, my back. I remember just crying nonstop, and he just had me at my ankles, holding my ankles, and was like, Ash, you're gonna be fine. Ansar Muhammad, Czar, my brother that always put me in front of a camera, that was there and showed me so much love and just compassion and understanding. And then, of course, and with all of them, I have like literally stopped talking to in these 5 years. Like, they get on my nerves. So let's not think like, you know what I mean? It's all brother, sister, love, love. No, like we have argued, we have stopped talking like several times, has been the case. Then there are people who have just been like my backbone and present when I had to go to court, which is, you know, those like Bernice Reddick and, God, there's Mr. Bivens, Mr. White. I don't know how many times I said at Mr. White's house. Listen here, Ralph White. Mr. White, help me understand, sir. Mr. Bivens being my consultant, Sam Fine. The reason I got involved in politics and an awesome human being, one that is for the people. Who else? Lord, it's now I'm like, I feel like I'm on the spot when I can give you this. JB of JB's Ink Therapy, who has put me in a position that is unlike anything I've experienced.
Okay, I am so sorry.
But
I need you to do, I don't even know, I can edit it. So what happened is remember he was telling me it'd be 28 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, it stops. So you have to redo it again.
Okay.
So, but you don't have to do, if you can start over if you want, or I can edit it. So I don't want you to, I want you to be.
Oh, you can edit it, yeah. You can edit it, I'll just
get it. Start from JB's.
Yeah. JB of JB's Ink Therapy, who has turned me into a piercing practitioner, put me through school, and now I'm piercing, and I just get to be myself in that environment, which anyone who knows me knows I don't work a job. It's like I get fired or I quit. So to be in an environment where I can be myself, JB has done something for me he doesn't even know. I don't want to leave anybody else out, but there's so many. My godfather, who I would call and just give updates, and he just like, all right, baby, well, you got to keep it pushing. My dad, who kept me laughing, and our relationship is its own craziness. Charles Johnson, I would literally watch him in the audience at my board meetings, and his eyesight would just calm me down because I'd be getting attacked and my mouth wanted and I would just look over and he'd just be like, don't do it. Shut up, Ashley. So big thank you to Charles Johnson, who is a pioneer in his own quiet, moving self. You have to let go of your mind planning what you're gonna say in the moment. It's a relinquishing of control. I don't have any control when I get to going. And when I try to have control is when you hear my ums. But when I just let the Spirit of God move and speak, and I'm speaking to an open heart, that's another thing too. Who you speak to determines what flows through you as well. You'll feel the wall of someone resistant to what you're saying. So that'll create the constant conversation in your mind that stops you from being able to speak fluidly. Then there's a point where you can get in front of a huge crowd and it's too many of them to feel the energy of their receptiveness or not. So then you can just go. So like for most people, they're like, oh my God, I'm scared to speak in front of a crowd. For me, I'd rather be in front of a crowd than 3 people because I can feel every person's energy. It doesn't stop my ability to work, but I gotta work harder. In a huge crowd, I don't feel any of their energy until I'm off the stage. And then I'm shaking and sweating and I gotta be left alone. But the flow of when I'm speaking, it's really, that's whatever comes out of my mouth and is flowing straight is whoever I'm speaking to hear. And it's like, I don't know, like it's there though. And it's been there since I was little. My first time ever speaking was, I was 5 years old at an AA meeting. My grandfather started AA meetings out of his garage. So I got up and just giving some, y'all drunks, all right. I come from a long list of alcoholics, girls. So yeah, it just comes. It's not even something that I can honestly say that I like all the time. Cause I'm someone that likes being liked. Not that I look for it, but I like being liked. And after going through public scrutiny, being embarrassed I don't like it. I hate the feeling of it. And so it a lot of times out of 10, I speak things that most people aren't ready to hear, and that makes me not liked in that moment. But I'm at a point in my life where I don't care if you like me or not. And this is how I see the world. And this is my truth. And I lived trying to see the world the way you see the world. And it costed me. I lived trying to go to church every Sunday. And your pastor re-traumatized me. Like, I tried the wife. That didn't work. I did the in sickness and health and all of that. And that marriage was what it was. That was my high school sweetheart. I did the mothering and had to put my kids down for 6 months. Like when my world fell apart, I couldn't be a mom. I didn't come from, and it's not like my mom is the hardest working woman you will meet in this world. But my mother was not a mother of love and romance and affection. I didn't learn that from my mom. I didn't learn how to treat a man from my mom. I learned how to knock him out from my mom. I just watched my mom fly over cars and tear people up. So I didn't know that. But I do know that in the same way that this tongue speaks life, I've seen it speak death. And I've seen it break spirits. And my ex-husband being one of them. I did it when we went through, I did a number on him with my tongue. I couldn't do nothing else. I'm gonna beat you up. Can't do that. So I've had the consequences of both sides, and I tend to lean on the lack of control in spirit versus the controlling in anger. And that's something beautiful that I wish more of us as Black women would take. We get such better responses from Black men with the soft tongue. If we really understood that. If we could put on a skirt and take off the pants, I promise you, we get far. You are loved. I love you. And if you ever meet me, you'd feel it. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Happy 52nd birthday anniversary, Black Family Day.